Hi YouTube! Today I will be giving a brief overview and a short review of the eMetrics Summit that I attended last week. Alright, so last week I went to the eMetrics Summit in Chicago, and for those of you who don't know, the eMetrics Summit is the Digital Analytics Association's conference that they hold multiple times throughout the year, including, I think there's 3 of them in the US. I know this year there was one in San Francisco, and there was the Chicago one, and there's still the one in Boston coming up this year. And I know that they have other ones throughout the year as well. I think there might be one in Sydney and Toronto and a few other places as well. But those are the 3 ones that are held in the US. And this is the first time I've ever gone to an eMetrics Summit, even though I have been a digital analytics member since either 2009 or 2010. I forget exactly when I joined, but I joined after becoming an independent analyst. And usually every year I go to the Adobe Summit, which used to be the eMetrics Summit. I've been going to that one since 2005 or 2006. I've been going to that one much longer. And I've always been very focused on the Adobe Analytics, Site Catalyst, tool suite and everything. But I thought this year I would expand my scope and include eMetrics into the conferences I attend every year, just because I am in the process of expanding my business, and that means that I don't necessarily have to focus just on the Adobe products, although to be perfectly honest that will continue to be my business's specialty. But I can bring on board people who have knowledge and expertise with web trends and Google Analytics, etc. And I thought it would be a great networking opportunity to have a chance to go and meet folks who don't necessarily use the Adobe Suite, even though I actually did run into a few people that I knew from the Adobe Summits that I go to, and it was really good to see them, but it was also really good to meet new people, people who use other tools, or also people who may actually do use the Adobe Suite, but I just haven't had the opportunity to run into them. Okay, so what I'll do is just kind of give a brief overview of my experience at the summit as to what eMetrics was about, and then kind of talk a little bit about my impressions and my thoughts about how I liked the conference as a whole. It was basically 2 days of activities, although there were other things. There was like an entire week's worth of activities that I could have participated in, but the core conference itself lasted 2 days. It was a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and both days followed very similar formats, with the difference being on the Tuesday there was an newcomers orientation. So since I was new, I attended that, which was actually quite informative. I had a chance to talk to Jim Sterne, who is the founder and president of the Digital Analytics Association, and he gave a lot of insight into how the Digital Analytics Association was founded, and just the history of it, and where he sees the association today, and where it's going in the future. So I thought that was interesting. And then kind of standard conference format after that, where we had morning keynotes, we had breakout sessions, we had coffee breaks and lunch breaks, and etc. And then more breakout sessions in the afternoon, followed by a few more keynotes before wrapping up the day. And then on Tuesday night we had a networking reception, along with it was basically a networking reception and a Web Analytics Wednesday kind of a deal. So we got together, and folks, you could have a beer or a wine and have some snacks and kind of talk and get to know each other. And then folks can either go out to dinner together and continue the networking process at that point, which was really cool. And then the next day, there was no newcomer orientation, obviously, but then it basically followed the exact same format. So pretty standard keynotes, breakout sessions, etc. I would have to say I really liked this conference. It was small, and I've heard other people criticize the conference because it's that small, but at the same time I actually thought it was more intimate. You got to know people a lot better. There were a lot of networking opportunities, and there were many opportunities where Jim Sterne was actually, basically forcing people to talk to each other, whether they wanted to or not. He said this was a working conference, and that, you know, the whole point of coming to a conference like this is to meet and network and talk to each other, learn from each other, teach each other, etc. And I really felt that the atmosphere was there, and it was very nice. I think I can't tell if it was like maybe 200 or 300 people. It was actually quite small, but I actually met a lot more people than I did at the last Adobe Summit that I attended. So while I still enjoy the Adobe Summit and there's a lot of value I could still get from going there, it's not as valuable for me as a networking tool as it used to be, because of how large it's gotten and the fact that it's expanded beyond just analytics, and it's gone into the whole online marketing thing, and it's just really broadened its focus so much. So it's kind of difficult for me to just walk up to somebody and expect them to be, hoping to meet other people in the analytics industry, because they could be looking for people who are more into the content management space with the CQ5 products, or just who knows what. And so it's more difficult to connect with the right people now, because it's so large and the focus is so broad, or not so broad, but broader than it has been in the past. With eMetrics, it's obviously the focus is analytics. That's the focus. It really, obviously online marketing and all these other things kind of are connected to it in a way, but it is much more laser focused on analytics than the Adobe Summit is these days, compared to what the eMetrics Summit used to be in the past. I will have to say, overall, it's small, but I thought it was very, very valuable. I thought all of the keynotes were really excellent. I thought the breakout sessions were very good, and I actually got some good takeaways from it. One overarching theme this year that I noticed in a lot of the presentations were talking about customer interaction and voice of the customer, and just kind of being more customer focused with your analytics. Stop, getting lost in the numbers. Stop getting lost in your channels, and kind of take a step back and look at who are your customers and how are you serving your customers' needs, etc. I thought that was a really good focus to have, because I think a lot of folks are kind of forgetting, as they're looking at the numbers and the data, that all these data points represent people, primarily people who want to be or are your customers, and want to have a good experience with you. And if they don't have a good experience when they come to your website or use your mobile app or your mobile version of your site, they may go elsewhere. So in summary, I thought that the eMetrics conference in Chicago was really good. As I said, it was small. If you don't like small conferences, this might not be the one for you, but I really thought, especially from a networking perspective, it was really an excellent conference. So thank you for joining me. If you're looking forward to my Adobe Site Catalyst tutorials, those will start being posted the first Wednesday in July. Until then, I probably will do one more of these types of videos until then. I'm trying to get an entire month's worth of data in Site Catalyst first before I go ahead and start doing those tutorials, because I think not having a complete set of data, it does a disservice to the tutorial. It helps to have good real live data in order to do a good tutorial. Alright, so until next week, thanks for joining me, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.